Hello, and we're back. Sorry for the interruption last time. But, as a real-life person, and not professional at all, I had to deal with children. I had to go mom. But now, I'm done momming, and now we're back. Yes. We are back soon. So, background story. My daughter Lacey was upset that her mobile device was dead. Rest in peace. It just needed to be charged. So, she started screaming and throwing a fit with her sister because her sister had her device and they were fighting over it. And they would not share it. And Lacey would not leave her alone, so they both got in trouble and sent to bed. It sucks because now I have to stick to my punishment. Otherwise, children won't learn, but they're going to be up at the crack of dawn. So, anywho, enough of background story. Let's get started. So we might have to read from the beginning of chapter 3. I don't think it saves where I left off at. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like it so far anyway. Well, they're not gonna get it tomorrow. Mind you, they're little yet. A couple of weeks, they'll totally forget that technology exists. And I want my children to have some knowledge of technology. So, yes, we're getting back to Mr. Rapey Boss. The weekend had finally arrived, and I went into town to buy some things. I think I've gotten everything I came here for. Huh? A familiar figure was walking in front of me. Mr. Seijo! Hey, I didn't expect to see you here. Are you out shopping? I wasn't supposed to read that part. Yeah, I ran out for some things. What are you here for? Really? I was thinking about researching the most popular ones the other day. That sounds great. I'd love to hear it. Okay. It would be more helpful to look at our data while we talk anyhow. There you go again. I'm always thinking on how nice it would be to have a date with you, says Mr. Seijo. Cut it out. I told you it was not going to happen. My heart started racing when he became serious. I was able to hide my feelings by telling him off. I walked away, pressing him to follow me. He is a little pushy. He's very persistent. But the thing is, with the last couple chapters, minus, this one, she likes him. She likes him, or she kind of likes him, but the CEO said no work relationships allowed. So she's trying to keep her job. Sometimes, Wolf, it can't be helped. I thought about the emails he had written me lately. At the end of his mail, he had always penned some sort of message, like "I love you" and stuff. And there we go. My phone's dying now, so let's plug her in. Damn it! Damn ads! No. Okay. Never mind. He looked at me with such a sad face that I couldn't resist. You know those emails you send me? You know full well. I was sure he was pretending not to know just to tease me. You write messages to me whenever you send an email. You know what I mean, like, I love you, or you're beautiful. He smirked at me and leaned to whisper in my ear. Oh, snap. The deep tone of his voice surprised me, and I jumped towards his amusement. It made my ear tingle, so I rubbed it and hurried toward the office without looking back. I heard laughter and a voice yelling at me to step from behind, but I ignored it. When I arrived at the office, I opened up my files and notepad and went straight into work mode. I did that mostly because I didn't want to think about being in the meeting room alone with him. I'm putting that problem aside for now. We've come here to work, so let's talk about work. That's why I came here. Oh, but look at his face. Would you be kind to so tell me what you've learned from your research? He threw his arms up in surrender before pulling out some documents from his bag. As soon as he laid them down, he scanned them with his eyes and put his game face on. Seeing that diligent face of his is memorizing, but I would never tell him anything of the sort. Is there a push for any Christmas products? What to do? Look at this data for the Reds. We both fixated our eyes on the report. Look at the third from the top. The color is there, but it's not oil-based. It's made entirely of natural ingredients. He studied the data carefully while he waited nervously for him to comment. If it had a nice scent in it, it would be rather good. It shouldn't be hard to the color either. Sorry guys, I can't read. Our meeting continued like that for some time after. Do you think the sample is doable? Great! It felt good to finally be at the stage where we could run a product sample. I was ecstatic. We both smiled at each other. Our concept would have never have come to this if it wasn't for Mr. Sadro. He amazed me. Kind of. In some poses, he kind of does. Soon enough, our new product would be on the path of success. With the materials and color decided, I was feeling really good about our progress. We'd already applied for a sample request, and now there was nothing to do but wait for it. I can't wait to see how it turns out. With so many great people helping, it was sure to turn out to be amazing. I was such a good mood, I almost started to skip on my way to work. I'm getting way too excited. We didn't even have a sample yet, so I needed to calm down. How does one act like a dwarf? I am curious, Wolf. I am curious. Well, so far I've had lunch with him, and it didn't mention anything of him eating like a hobbit, but maybe. I took a deep breath to relax and swung the door open to the office. Good morning! Suddenly everyone turned their heads toward me and stared. What was going on? Everyone looked so better. No one even responded to my greeting. They continued to stare at me with unfriendly eyes. I don't know, Wolf. Do we get angry or do we ignore it? I'll let you pick. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. So would you get angry? It's okay, then I guess we're gonna get angry. What in the world is going on? I haven't done anything to tick anyone off. I can't imagine they were mad at me for coming to work late. I try not to let it get to me, but it still made me curious. I walked to my desk to see Mr. Cato and Mr. Sajo nearby. Good morning. What's going on? I could tell you by looking at their faces how good the situation was. Yeah. One that I sent? Who cares? He was such at a loss for words. I didn't seem like such a big deal to me, though. While he put cheesy notes to me on his emails, all of mine were professional. Were it his mail that got leaked? It might have been a problem, but mine were safe. What's so bad about it, Mr. Sajo? A love letter from me? What? My scream echoed through the entire office. Wait a second. There must be some sort of confusion. I never sent him something like that. Ugh! Never mind. I was just about to say that if I had really sent a love letter to him, it would have checked it first. I didn't want to make this any worse than it already was. I looked at the ground since everyone was staring at me except Mr. Cato, who looked at my computer. Mr. Sajo was acting strange. His face looked a bit more red than usual. Go ahead, search whatever you want. There was no reason for me to feel guilty. I went back away from my desk and let him take over. Instead, he reached over me from behind as to use my mouse. It was almost a hug. He was right up on me. I could feel the warmth of his body on my back. Oh, God. I don't know. What do we do, Wolf? Do we peek at him? Do we sneak a glance? Or do we, scoot away? Cue music. Do 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 do. Unfortunately, I don't have that option. We'll move away then. I slowly inched myself away from him. My nose caught his scent. It was such a good smell that I felt my body reach to it. This was bad. I couldn't let myself become like this in such a bad situation. The office was dead silent except for the clicking of my keyboard. Mr. Sajo brought up the screen after screen, none of which had ever seen before. It's okay. I figured as much. What was he even... I can't read. What was he doing even? Someone good at computers might know, but not me. All I could do was watch him work on the screen with techie words all over it. We whispered to each other, so quiet that no one else could hear. He must have been thanking me for what I said about sending the love letter. Yeah. People would notice if we if we whispered it any longer, so he stopped with that. He continued pressing keys at a blazing speed with incredible focus. I listened to his breath as I watched his fingers. He was the only thing on my mind right now. What the hell? This MC is crazy. Every time his body pushed against mine, my chest thumped harder. God damn it. This was no time to be thinking of him, but I couldn't stop myself. What the fuck, lady? Oh my god, okay. What's wrong with me? Yeah, what's wrong with you? He's... Okay. The office was full of people, and yet the only sound was that of Mr. Seijo typing on the keyboard. My heart was still beating fast, with his arm wrapped around me just to reach the mouse. Did you figure something out? Okay. Huh? He calmly reassured me and then taking his eyes off the screen. Okay. Still, everyone else was giving me a nasty look. I felt so alone and hopeless until he spoke those words to me. It made me want to cry. Thank you, Mr. Seijo. He glanced at me and plopped his hand down upon my head. A few minutes passed. Seriously? Mr. Kato, thank you. Why hadn't I forgotten? Mr. Seijo, thank you so much. I jumped out of my chair so quickly I almost tumbled over before bowing deeply to him. I can't thank you enough. If you hadn't been here, I'd... Okay. Thinking it would be a good idea to let the CE know, I started to walk away. Before I can get anywhere, Mr. Seijo turned to face all the angry stares. Mr. Seijo? There was no reaction from the crowd except that they started to whisper amongst themselves. I could tell Mr. Seijo was furious just by looking in his eyes. He always looked so gentle, making it all the scarier. Mr. Seijo? I marched all the way to the CEO's office, but my legs locked up, too nervous to enter. Alright. Mr. Seijo stood next to me and put his hand reassuringly onto my shoulder. Strange. All it took was a gesture to wipe all my nervousness. I did as he said. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. The blinking is creepy. Well, it's supposed to give it like more detail. It's supposed to be more animated. He was the only one who tried to help me back there. Wow. Mr. Seijo? I slowly opened my eyes to see his face right in front of mine staring at me. Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm not afraid anymore. Oh, man. I pushed open the door to Mr. Tori's office. Excuse me. Rarely did I ever need to enter his office. When they came in, 2 men were staring at me. Yeah. I took a step forward. His whisper gave me strength as I stood up with confidence. He was my ally. He was gentle, but assertive. I could rely on him for anything. I collected my thoughts and began to explain what happened. Love Square? Well, this is a visual novel, so it's kind of like it's a harem, but not a harem. You can, like, take different routes, and I just happened to pick Creepy Boss. But, like, the point of the game is to, like, I think bounce chicka wow wow. But we'll see. I love Rumbus. How many sides is a Rumbus? I forget. Okay, guys, let me know in the chat. Phew. After explaining the whole situation to them, I left the room shaken but in one piece. I felt so drained of energy that I swayed on my feet. Mr. Seijo held me so I could walk. I'm fine. I tried to push myself away from him, but it was only caused me to stumble. Mr. Seijo helped me stand once again. Sorry, thanks. He put his arm around my waist to support me. I felt his warmth seep through my clothes. If only I could close my eyes and stay like this, I could easily forget all my worries. Mr. Seijo? Thanks for coming to my defense and sticking up for me. You would? Just days ago, I would have thought he was joking. His face was so close to mine that I had to turn away. I'm fine now, let's go. We have to explain this to everyone else. His arm pulled me close to him. No, what if someone sees? Fine, 5 seconds. While he was holding me, my entire body fell into a trance. After just like 5 seconds, I no longer cared if someone saw us. 5 seconds was long, but I didn't care. My mind and body were at ease. I'd never felt like this before. There was nothing more that I wanted than just to stay like this. I surprised myself. It's time. As we walked onwards, he matched my pace to my walking alongside me. It really felt like he was escorting me, protecting me from harm. I purposely slowed my pace. Since we could hold each other any longer, I wanted to walk next to him as long as I could. Back at the office, the first ones to come running up were Mario and Kentaro. The others in the room were still looking at me with a cold glare. You're finally back, and I heard what happened. I was so worried about you. These two were in the office. When I came in the morning, they had no idea either. Sorry for making you two worry. Mr. Seijo came with me and helped explain what had happened, that I'd been hacked. With that, Mr. Seijo stepped up close to me, very close. He's right. I didn't think I could prove what I was innocent if it wasn't for him. Right, Wolf? Wolf, you are correct. You should not date a coworker or a boss. After Mr. Sajo gave them a nice big smile, they both hurried away with their seats, or to their seats. In their place, Mr. Cato approached us. I'm sorry for all the trouble that I've caused. The two of them began a serious discussion, so I decided to keep quiet. I think Mr. Cato might be HR. Everyone here deserves to be fired. Mr. Cato gave Mr. Sajo a challenging glance. In response, he just smiled. If they found Mr. Sajo's email to me, that would be real bad. I've never wrote anything like that before. I don't know. What do we do, Wolf? Do we yell at him? Or we don't cause any trouble? Cue the theme song. Do, 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 do. Bump, ba-dum, bump, bump, bump. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Alrighty, Wolf. Did you pick one? Don't cause a scene. Okay. It would be a bad idea if I were to make the matters worse by yelling at him, so I shut my mouth. Mr. Cato turned away and left. I wondered what he meant by that. Suddenly, I was being dragged by the arm.
I know, Julie. What should have been out?
Shh. Okay. More the merrier, Wolf. More the merrier. His expansion revealed the problem was a lot more serious than I've ever thought. We headed into the restaurant, picking seats that were the farthest away from anyone else. Our food had already come, but my appetite wasn't there, so I sipped on coffee instead. I thought that too. Okay. He hadn't touched his food despite what he said. Tension hung thick in the air. But wait. If they had just wanted to get us in trouble for that, then how come... This is why you should... Yeah, you should date coworkers or your boss. Wait. If it's a love letter they needed, you've actually written one of those to me. Why would they go through the efforts of sending one from me to you? There isn't any reason they could have hacked your computer, right? Which means they could have hacked yours if they wanted to, but they didn't. I think there is some reason behind having the mail being sent by me. Mr. Sajo, you shouldn't say that. But you should do it on the company's dime, though, Wolf. That's against company policy. His face was calm and confident, so much that it seemed scary. How was he so sure of it when it comes that he'd only had just started to work with the others recently? Might be HR. Let's see. It surprised me how he was able to claim such things so easily with a straight face. He reached out and clasped my hand. Mr. Sajo? I was embarrassed, but I couldn't find it in me to pull away. I felt victim to his eyes. Oh my god. The old me would have shook his hand off, but I've changed since then. Oh no, his rapey ways have convinced us. Oh no. Sorry, excuse me. I couldn't move away. I needed his warmth. Oh god. His gaze pulled me in front of that moment. The time has stopped. He was the center of my life. What the? Wow. Okay. Mr. Sajo? His voice was cold as ice. It's already this late? Busy working on reports. Before I knew it, the office was almost vacant. It was around 9 o'clock. I picked up my things and stood up in my chair. Good night. There was only a few people left, but there was no one near me, so I snuck out the office. Though my name was in the clear, I couldn't help but feel guilty to be in a work relationship. To that end, I had been avoiding people as much as possible. The city was bustling and people were excited it was Friday. I was the only one wearing a frown. Phew. All the stress and worries weighed on my shoulders. It felt like running away. I need to cheer up. No matter how hard I thought, there was no likely suspect for what happened. According to Mr. Sajo, the suspect was likely someone I knew, or at least that was a relief. I just can't rely on Mr. Sajo for anything. He said he would stop sending me messages, but I needed to do my part too. Much of his disappointment, I had to keep my distance from him, or it might raise red flags. Huh? In front of me, there were two familiar figures. It was Mr. Sajo and Mr. Cato, walking and having a conversation. Were they heading home? Okay, do we scare them? Or do we talk to them? Choose your own adventure, Wolf. I would sneak up on them and yell at them from behind. Just a little closer. Pushing through the crowd of people, I forced my way toward them. I tiptoed quietly until I was just behind them. Did YouTube delete one of your comments, Wolf? What? Whoa! A surge of people pushed me away, and their backs went farther and farther away. Shoving my way to the distance close enough to hear, I took a deep breath to shout at them. It was a split second before I opened my mouth, and then I heard their voices. Yes, I was going to say hi, but then I got distracted by your conversation. I felt pretty uneasy with what I've heard. Mr. Seijo didn't even give me a chance to ask about it either. What they were talking about exactly, and who was this Meraki person? Uh, we went down to 2%. Oh man, we're losing. Okay. Alrighty, and I'm going to end it with this chapter. Maybe later this evening or something, or tomorrow or whatnot, I'll read Chapter 4, Trapped in Feelings. So yeah, and we'll see you in the next one. So